All right, YouTube. So let's see what we're working on. 69 Sport Satellite. So just to get a base on what to do with this car, because it was a basket case that someone started working on. There's new quarters on. They were put on kind of the old school way. So what they had done is they had welded it across the top, which is all right. They're not butt welded. They're lap welded, and there's some filler, but that's all right. You can see that black, that's the finish that comes. So what I've been doing basically is going over the car to see just how crooked or straight things are. So I basically took some paper on a real flexible board file. We went over the whole car, and you can see all the still sort of shiny parts. That's from when they make these fenders, I'd imagine. Tooling marks or whatever, wheeling, who knows. But whatever it is, there's not much there. But I took a straight edge after we filed it all and ran it everywhere, and mostly it's good. This one right here, there's a little bit of an out, so I'll have to check that. But that's pretty good. Trunk has a little indent and a little... Someone dropped the trunk lid on the hinge, so this right here is actually up. So we're gonna have to knock that down and, figure that out. The opposite side over there somewhere, there's a dent that's down. The main thing with this, it had no bumper at one time and it rolled into something. So there's a piece down in here that has been pushed in. So you can see how the trunk don't quite fit this. I just have one bolt holding this in because I'm gonna have to bring this out like so. And you can see what happens down here on the quarter. So I'm gonna have to cut and play with the quarter, and up here, same thing. Nothing really is gonna fit right. So what we're probably gonna have to do here, this thing was, the quarters were put on before this was straightened, so we're gonna have to cut probably down here, pull that out to where it goes, match it to the trunk lid is good. This guy's got 3-4 cars. This trunk lid's been tried on both the other two cars and then gently put back together because the other two cars are finished cars. They're beautiful cars. He's got a copper colored GTX 4-speed convertible, and then he's got a I believe it's the Super B. But anyway, so the trunk is perfect. So as long as we match the two I guess taillight buckets or whatever they are to the trunk lid, we'll be good. And I'm basically going to pie cut into the quarters because these aren't new quarters that came to here. I believe he said they come up and somewhere down here they're welded. This is original, but it was probably mashed. I did notice it comes close to the bumper. So I'm going to go out, look at the other guy's two cars and see if these should be in a little bit down in here because they're like almost rubbing. Because I think the quarter's got to be pulled in a touch. So I'm going to have to look at that and see what we can do. But either way, we're going to make this fit those because you can't do nothing with these. They're made out of, pop metal, white metal, whatever you want to call it. The roof was pretty good, except there's a dent way over up in the middle. And I'm probably going to do some kind of metal lead or something. I'm not sure what to do with that spot yet. We're going to take care of that. The rest is good. The other side, though, had thin primer and a bit of rust. So we basically blasted it all off, sanded it off with something rough and, treated it and then primed it. And the jams and everything are fine. And when you close the doors on this car, and I'm fixing the door for the driver's side, when you closed the door on the driver's side, everything worked, but right here, the door would be out. And the adjustment was maxed out. You'd have a good ½ inch out, or a little more, like depending on how it was adjusted. Where the front would fit, everything would fit. Problem number 2, he told me that he believed the quarters were welded into here, which is all well and good, but for some reason, there's been a patch put in down here and here. So what happens is the door gap at the bottom, say 6 inches, slowly gets tight. So we're going to basically cut right through the body there and under and knock that down, knock it that way, and weld it back together. So we're going to have like pretty excellent gaps. You can see where the door was maxed out adjusted and it cut into the cowl here. There's a big lump here. I knocked that down already. She's pretty good, but that's really thin. So I'm going to run a bead of weld in there, grind it flat. There's quite a bit to do on, these cars they're older than I am at this point. So it is what it is. This car is like 6-7 years older than me. There's a bit of weirdness up there where we couldn't get all the paint off where it's stuck really good and rough. So I'm going to have to sand that. But The rest of the roof is basically 3 coats of, basically I'm using the, CRE321. It's an industrial, commercial, whatever primer. You put 2-3 coats of that on and 90% of everything on this car will block out, and it's epoxy coated, and then you can paint over top of it. So, you know, if you're going to do an etch primer and then an epoxy primer and then a sealing primer and whatever, and, you know, I probably added too many in, but whatever, that stuff is good. It works good. A few people mentioned that and another product, and either or is very good. I believe he said, I think it's PPG might own it all. Either way, I'll show you a quick picture of that, because I started using this and I'm very happy with this. This stuff is awesome. This is what it is. It is not cheap, but you get all 3 cans that you see there with it. So this makes like 1.5 gallons, and quite frankly, it's heavy. When you pick it up, it feels like a lead round cylinder. It's super heavy. And when you mix it, it goes on nice and thick. 3 days, I've been giving it 5, but they claim within 3 days, it's shrunk to all the shrinking it's gonna do, and then you can literally block it. There is a little bit of a hard film on the outer edge when you first start, but I gotta say, you put it in, I've been just using the Durablocks, and it blocks off. You know, so maybe do like, say, a 180 just to cut through that little bit of sheen. And I mean, I'm talking it's super easy. It's not hard to do like some of the epoxies. And it's meant for that, right? And you can block this and it turns out super nice. So I highly recommend it. Sylvester Customs, check out his channel. I don't know if I'm allowed to give him a shout out, but I'm gonna. He's recommended that and a VP something or other, and both products are amazing. So I've used that, and I'm thankful he mentioned it, because I've tried a few others that were okay, but nothing's like that. Like, I'm not doing, you know, everyone has, oh, G2 filler, polyester, whatever, and put a whole bunch of coats and a whole gallon on there. Don't. Buy that stuff, goes farther. It's a little more expensive, but you get quite a bit more out of it, and it's awesome. So the hood, you see what we can see. Dent. Now this is more than, I think what, well, some of it is more than what the primer will hide. Anywhere you see these pencil markings, dent, basically low spots. Now, we knew the hood was damaged in the middle and fixed, but what you see there, this filler, this has now been all blocked this way. Yeah, so this way, that way, and then there's a bit of a groove and then up. So that was tricky, but I got the front really, really sweet. I grabbed a rag with a little bit of wax and grease remover. I wiped it on the thick side so it's wet. And you could catch the light and it was smooth, except right here, you can see kind of where it's dark there. So I'm going to have to put something in there. The primer might do it, but I think I'm going to put a little bit of finishing filler in there. I'll show you that stuff after, which is probably what that white stuff is right there, just to basically bridge this to this, to fill this in. So first thing I'll do is I'll kill this all in here with 80 to make it rough, fill it oversized, block it again. Now, if you're worried about blocking in the edges touch, well, you shouldn't be holding the edges, but you can like run like a bead of tape, masking tape on each side, go down till it starts eating the tape, pull the tape off, continue. It should come out okay. I still got a sand here. Obviously, you don't block that shape. The back is okay. Right here and here's a little low. You can see where someone stood this on a floor once, so we might do something, we might not, we'll see. But yeah, getting these hoods is hard. And the things that fit in here, the little fake vents, fit really well. They didn't. They do now. We fixed that. A little bit of hammer and dolly action. But if you see here, like I've cut through to the original red. There's a low, high. You can see where the lows are because it's still dark. And this was like 3-4 coats of some kind of, I don't know, some kind of epoxy primer I'm unfamiliar with. But I'm going to block it anyways. It won't be perfect, mainly just to find the lows. And then I'm going to put 2, maybe 3, probably 3 coats of my stuff on here. I'll do a thin coat and 2 fat coats, and it dries pretty quick. And in 3 days, we can block the hood. The car is, the bodywork was like old school 80s bodywork, which stands to reason because the guy who owns this car is a mechanic. Back in the 70s and 80s, he said he did on and off bodywork for a shop, where they do a bit of Bondo, light dust. You know, there was waves back then, and I learned from a guy who did work in the 80s, back in the 90s, and quite frankly, what they were doing then was smear it all full of Bondo, sand it into a basic shape, paint the car. People weren't worried like they are today, but he was particular. So this car's not bad. Like, you see highs and lows from the green primer to the gray primer and whatnot. And again, this whole side looks sanded because we literally blocked this whole car just so we could see what we were dealing with. And you can see here, honestly, 2 coats of primer on this door, sand it, the primer I'm using. This is going to be super straight and amazing. Same with this. You can see the little tiger stripes and whatever you want to call it. The red primer there was some bare metal where the black finish rubbed off when it was new in the box. So he just primed that up before he even put it on, just to, you know, it took him 10 years to put this together because he's got like a dozen Mopars. But you can look back here and everything. There's, I don't know if you can see it on camera, what it says there with marker, it says flat. So I checked all this with a straight edge, you know, to make sure everything was rocking and a little bit around, no light shining through. There is a little flat spot there, so I'm going to make sure when I prime this fender, I mean, it might get 2 coats, but I'm going to hit a big heavy coat there, right in here, 1 heavy coat. Let that kind of cure a bit, and then put 2 full coats on the whole quarter, roof, trunk lid, etc. Here's a good place to show you the door gap. Starts off pretty good, and it shrinks to nothing. So again, right at the end of my boot here, we're going to slice into here, knock it back, weld that shut, and then do the bottom the same way. This is a driver. I don't think the owner wanted it that well done, but he's done so much work to it, the car deserves it, so we're doing it. The car's going to look straight. This is a weekend show and shine, you know, cars and coffee car. It's pretty cool. Originally a 318 car. No longer a 318 car, 440 Super Commando. And it's got a brown cam. So you Mopar guys might know what that means. All I know is when it's on idle, the brake booster barely works. But when you pull out and stomp on this thing, this is one of the few muscle cars that'll eat my modern Hemi 2-wheel drive trucks. So, I mean, I think we figured about 430 out of the little 2014 half-ton horsepower. So I don't know what's in this. Basically, my truck is a stock 5.7 Hemi short cab, short box 2-wheel drive with a little bit of a tune. Compared to most muscle cars, it's fast. However, this car's a bit of a monster. This car, when you pull out and drive, this is a turnkey car, by the way. All that's left is the body and paint. The interior, you know what? That's a treat. Let's have a look at that. I don't want to make the video too long, but all new. I'm sorry, I got a bit of dust in there, so this is going to be all detailed out. Brand new dash pad, headliner, door cards, seats, everything in this is new. Carpet not even trimmed yet. Check it out, it's overhanging. This is a power windows car. It was the 318 buckets console, and he said it was a pretty healthy 318 and 69 in this car. Now, cool dash. He says the radio works like a charm. Everything in this car works like it should. And it's pretty nice. Now I know he has redone this frame rail down here right into where they box them in. That's all new. Both rear rails, a lot of the brackets and stuff underneath the back, all new. Floor pans, some of them are new. I believe they're all new. No, the floor pans are all new. I don't think it was a one piece. Some of the braces have been replaced or fixed. But the car's sound and solid. I gotta say, you know, for an older mechanic, restoring this as far as he could till he got it to this level, I mean, it's pretty impressive. When people bring me stuff and, oh, the bodywork's already all done, no, it's not. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there doing this know exactly what I'm talking about. I gotta say, I'm a little impressed with this guy. He admitted, go over the car, do what you want to do. The price is the price. He goes, I did everything I could to try to do it, and this is where, you know, and there was a time where he'd have finished it and painted it, but like he told me himself in 1980, whatever, if you painted it, it was pretty much ready already. So, you know, things have changed. People want nicer stuff. And if you saw this guy's other stuff, and I'm going to ask him permission if we can do a little shop tour at his place, because he's a mechanic by trade. And he has his own shop, and he has for years, but he's got a few Mopars that I'm sure I can show you half a dozen, but we'll leave that for now. And yeah, we'll call it good. Anyway, thanks for watching.